Right guys, so we all get it now. We all understand that drones produce wind. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the common reasons why drone pilots crash their drones, particularly newbies. So let's begin. At number one, then it's because they lose connection with the drone. Now, when you lose connection with a drone, it can be very confusing for you. You can actually just stand there in disbelief and not quite fully understand what is going on. So why does your drone lose connection with the transmitter? Well, it's basically normally because you've flown the aircraft too far away from the transmitter. So, you know, your drone may only be able to go up to like 200 meters away from you, but you're now trying to fly it up to 250 meters, which is why you lose connection with the drone. The second reason why you've lost connection with the drone is normally because you've flown the aircraft too high. Yes, flying the aircraft too high in the sky can see you or will see you lose connection with your drone. Now, another reason why you may lose connection with a drone is because you experience interference from areas of high Wi-Fi usage. Now, I'm going to give you another example of where you can experience interference with your transmitter and your drone, and that is basically around fluorescent lighting. Now, recently I was working on a building site and I was using my drone to, do some night photography, and I was by this fluorescent work light that, gave off fluorescent lighting, and I basically lost connection with my drone. I didn't totally lose connection, but these work lights were totally interfering with my transmitter communicating with my drone. Now, it turns out that these fluorescent work lights give off a thing called microbursts, and it's microbursts that interfere with your transmission from your transmitter to your drone. So there you go, guys. At number one, it is you lose connection with your drone, which results in a crash. So at number two, it is the frozen screen. Just like losing a connection, when you get a frozen screen, then you can become a little bit, boombazzled, a little bit taken back in what is going on. Now, the reason why you normally get a frozen screen is because you're using a tablet or a smartphone or any other device that is so intention was made to be used universally. For example, a smartphone, not only is it your FPV screen with drones, but it's also your personal telephone call. So when you're flying, you could receive a telephone call and your phone could ask you, should you answer this telephone call? And because of that, you've now found out that your screen has frozen on an app and you can no longer control your drone via its app until you restart the app. So the frozen screen really is a pain in the butt to drone pilots. That is why I use my own tablet dedicated only for the sole purpose of flying my drones. I don't use my tablet for anything else other than flying drones, as quite frankly, I don't want to receive a telephone call or a text message or anything, even an email. I don't want to receive an email when I'm flying my drone, because the higher RAM your device uses, the more CPU it uses, then you run a risk of your screen freezing, hence you having a crash. So let's move on to number three. Newbies normally crash their drones because they're flying far too fast and far too aggressively. Yet guys, if you fly too fast and you fly too aggressively, then you're going to crash your drone. If you want to fly fast and you want to fly aggressively, buy a racing drone. Don't try and use a Parrot Bebop for racing, because this drone is just not cut out for racing. Now, I've flew this fast and aggressively, and I can tell you that when this hits a certain angle, like angle of attack, let's say I'm flying fast and aggressively and I turn. If I turn like this, and then if the wind hits it, once I hit this angle, the drone just drops from the sky. And that is another reason why you don't want to be flying fast and aggressive with these consumer drones, because once they hit a certain angle, they will drop out of the sky. So don't fly fast and aggressive. The fourth reason why people normally crash their drones is because they're flying inverted. So what that means is, when you're flying normally, your drone will be facing like that. So if you move left, your drone moves left. If you move right, your drone moves right. You move forward, it moves forward. You move back, it moves back. Flying inverted basically means the opposite. It means the drone is now facing you. So if you want to go forward, it's actually your back. So if you want to go back, it's actually your forward. If you want to go left, it's actually your... everything is just back to front. And that's what we mean about flying inverted. So if you watch people trying to land their drone on the boat in the middle of the ocean and they're flying inverted, that is why they've crashed the bloody drone. Because if they would have simply turned the drone around, they would have made life a hell lot easier for them. And now forward is forward, back is back, left is left, right is right. So there you go, guys. That's the fourth reason why people crash with their drones. It's because they're flying inverted. Number 5 is because they're flying in the incorrect flight mode. Now, with my DJI Phantom 3, it's got a setting called the course lock. And I remember I nearly crashed that drone because I was flying in course lock when I thought I was flying in normal mode. So there's your next reason. It's because you're flying in an incorrect flight mode. So always check your flight mode before you take off. Now, the next common reason why people crash their drones is because they're flying on windy days. Okay? Now, we know drones produce their own wind, but we also know that Mother Nature likes to produce her own wind too. And guess what, guys? Mother Nature will always win at the wind game every single time. So it's very important for new drone pilots to check the weather forecast with regards to when they want to fly their drones. Because again, flying on... my experience on flying on windy days, yes, you can fly in high winds, but you don't enjoy flying in high winds. For example, if you want to make a video in high winds, then you'll find that you'll be spending less time focusing on the video side of things, and you'll be spending more time in fighting the wind with your drone. That's the thing, when you fly on windy days, it just takes all the fun and all the enjoyment out of flying drones, because you're basically being the pilot fighting against the wind. So another reason why people crash is because they're flying on windy days and they don't have high wind experience. So for example, when you're flying on windy days, you will notice that your drone will be using far more power and your battery will drain a lot quicker, and next thing you know, your drone falls out of the sky because it's got no more power left in the battery. So that's what we mean about flying on windy days. Another reason why drone pilots crash, particularly newbies, is because they panic. Yep. Panic has got to be, you know, one of the big things what newbie drone pilots do. They panic. They basically just stand there and they do nothing. They just look about and they panic and do nothing. What you need to do is to take control of the situation and try and find a solution without panicking. But again, there you go, panicking. Now, Another reason why people crash is because they don't give themselves room for error, or they don't give themselves room for reaction time. For example, let's say that you're flying well too close to trees, okay? You think you've got it in the bag. What happens if Mother Nature gives that gust of wind? That means that your drone is going to go ever closer to them trees, and if the propellers hit the trees, it's going to crash. Yeah? So that's what we mean about giving yourselves reaction time. If you're further away from the tree and Mother Nature blows that gust of wind, you will see the drone moving, and now you've got enough time to correct that and counterfight it and bring your drone back. And that's what we mean about give yourself room for reaction time and room for error. Let's finish this section off with one more thing. Prop guards. You see, prop guards. This is another reason why people lose their drones permanently, because they use their prop guards when they're outside flying in the park near trees. Guys, you only need the prop guards when you're flying indoors. You don't need the prop guards when you're flying outdoors. Because if you've got the prop guards on and you hit the tree, what happens? Correct. The drone snags on a branch and you say, bye bye drone, I'll never see you again, because the propeller guard has got hooked onto a branch and there's no way of you getting it back down from the tree. So that's another reason why people lose their drones permanently, because they crash into a tree and the prop guards catch on the branch and they never ever get that drone back down. So right guys, there's some of the common reasons why newbie drone pilots crash their drones.